Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm of course your host Rob Burgess. On this our 107th episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. You first heard Jonathan Fowler on episodes 2, 10, 20, 21, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 43, 48, 51, 56, 64, 74, 83, 92, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, and episode 82, also featuring fellow regular guest Ash Burgess of the podcast. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He's an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over 10 years, trying to help the citizens of that great nation hopefully talk pretty one day. And if you haven't started reading Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House yet, consider this your official warning to start now. This episode is the fifth in a series in which Jonathan and I will break down the entire book. And now, on to the show.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. You sound more coherent today.
Yeah. Oh, last night I wasn't going to drink soju, but then I did. Always a bad mistake, but it was being pushed on me by some appealing pushers, I guess we could say.
I see.
Yeah, what's going on these days?
Oh, nothing much. I think there was a couple topics we didn't cover last time that you wanted to get to, sounds like.
Okay. And what would those have been?
Let's see. Well, according to your message...
I'm actually not really clear. I know we talked about, like, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ta-Nehisi Coates, rather, and I don't know... Honestly, I don't know much else what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Trump at all, or?
Not so much. You said you wanted to mention the Texas shooting.
Oh yeah, yeah, another one of those. Although, what's really to be said about it at this point?
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to keep happening, obviously, and
yeah. Well, and there was school resource officers there with guns. Didn't help, didn't stop it. But we already knew that back from when Columbine, because, I mean, there was a school resource officer at Columbine, too. So, you know, just having police there isn't going to stop somebody who's on, like, a suicidal mission. So,
to be fair, Columbine, like, nobody saw it coming, really. I mean, like, that was, like, kind of an original.
Well, yeah, and then also that was a failed bombing, too. It wasn't necessarily planned as a school shooting. That was kind of a last-ditch effort. When the bombs didn't go off, they went in. If you've ever read, you should one book you should read if you haven't is Dave Cullen's book, Columbine. That's a good one.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't heard of it, but yeah, I don't know. It sounds like this guy was trying to copycat that stuff. It sounds like he was wearing like a quote-unquote duster, which is a word that I haven't heard.
Trench coat mafia.
Pretty much around column. Yeah, the trench coat, so to speak. Like I haven't heard it called a duster since the late 90s, early 2000s, I don't think, so.
I haven't seen those be worn in any great frequency since then, so.
Yeah, probably in 2017, if you're wearing a duster and you don't live in Texas. That should. Oh, well, in this case, I mean, this was Texas, I guess. Never mind. But I'm saying, if like you're not a cowboy and you're wearing a duster, yeah, that should raise some eyebrows. You should probably have your ability to get guns revoked. Although, from what I understand, this kid took his like dad or stepdad's gun. Thing, so.
Yeah. What do you think about that as far as like liability concerns? Like, do you think the person who owns the gun should be held liable if they don't lock up their guns correctly?
I don't know. It's like one of these things. Like I don't know. I think it's just one of these things. I think that has to happen to every single person before everybody gets it through their head. Like everybody feels like they've got a normal family, and nobody in their family would ever do anything bad. And you know, they've raised them well and taught them well about how to shoot and hold them and handle them and so forth and care for them and all that. I don't know. You know, it's just you can't. I don't know how they were, you know, kept. I think like the case where the police, like, what was the previous one where the police took this kid's guns away and then they gave them back to the dad on his own, like, reconnaissance or whatever, recognizance or however you say it. And,
reconnaissance, yeah.
Then he gave them back to the kid. It's like, duh, who could have seen that coming? Of course, the dad doesn't think his kid's going to shoot up the school. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a similar thing with red flags being raised with the Parkland shooter, too, but, I mean, there's only so much you can do, and the bar for declaring someone, you know, incompetent mentally is so high that, you know, we'd have to take away a lot of people's guns if that was the case, you know, so people get into constitutionality reasons there, but, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I think if you want to have a musket, you should be allowed to have a musket anytime you want. Everything else is probably got to have a higher bar, I think.
Yeah, I think some reasonable stuff could be done, and, like, of course, you know, the Second Amendment absolutists or whatever will complain about a slippery slope and all this stuff, but I mean, the fact is, like, you can look at the facts about different countries and what they've done and what the results have been. You can look at things like the expiration of the assault weapons ban and the increase, and we've also, I think something like, you know, America went into a recession in 2008, and I don't really think that people have, you know, we've got the opioid epidemic, and we've got other problems and stuff, and I just don't know that people have really connected everything to the socioeconomic stuff that's happened in America in the last decade or so.
Sure, it's all connected, that's for sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that's something we should mention, you know, insofar as we deal with the news and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, yeah, look at Australia. I mean, they had a mass shooting. They took away all the assault rep weapons. There's not been one since. So, and I saw a statistic that it's actually more dangerous to go to school this year than it is to be in combat if you're a soldier. So,
yeah,
like the casualty rate is higher.
Yeah, it's a choice at a certain point, and America seems to have made its choice, and so we'll just, you know, unfortunately, kids got to write it out and stuff. And I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but we found out that somebody in our school had found out that when we were freshmen or sophomores, I think it was when we were freshmen, that somebody at school had brought a gun to school and was planning to do something, but somebody reported it, and that person was removed from school, I guess, and I don't really know who it was. It would be interesting to go back and kind of figure it out, do some detective work or whatever, but, you know, that would have been 97. That would have predated Columbine's. I think we talked about it before, but, you know, it's like that disco song said. You know the one I'm talking about?
Staying alive.
There, but for the grace of God, go I.
Yeah. I think that was a phrase before really that song, but yes, I know what you mean.
Disco really did have all the answers.
It really did. That's true. That's a good that's a good words to live by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate the willingness of the pro-gun people to turn the attention in any other direction besides the guns. That, you know, I believe we mentioned it last time, but the Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said there were too many entrances and too many exits in the schools.
Yeah, I bet the school shooter would have hated it if there was just one way for all of his victims to try to get out.
Yeah, right.
That would have fucked up his plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fire one shot at the entrance and then you just wait for them all to come running.
The bottleneck ensues.
I mean, like, do these people even think before they say shit? I mean, like, build a building with one entry and one exit, and then see how many casualties you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just reacting to that quote right in the moment right now, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind is like, it's like we've got some Republicans saying, well, you know, maybe the sea level rises because rocks are falling in the ocean somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, these people.
It's amazing.
How do they get elected to anything? What do they qualify for? I mean, they. I don't know. I mean, if you ask me to, I admit, like, sometimes you get caught with a question that you're not expecting or not prepared for, and you've got to, come up with something on the spot, and it's not always, not always very smart. But the fact that I'm able to, like, think of, I don't know, common sense should say that these are not good answers, and like it is these people's responsibility to come up with answers, and I don't know.
But he went on to say, the issue is not about guns, it's about us. We have devalued life, whether it's through abortion, whether it's through the breakup of the families, through violent movies, and particularly violent video games. Wait, Cha, reactions?
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to get chicken dinners in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and I've committed small massacres on the island in that pursuit, but I have not shot at my school yet. So
yeah,
stay posted.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah, but Oliver North is the head of the NRA now, right, or something?
Sure
like
is.
That.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think I saw something. He was complaining about the culture of violence, and there was a headline that said, like, he consulted on Call of Duty, one of the Call of Duty games, which are, some of the most violent shooters out there. Of course. Not that they're exceptional shooters; they're very, very, standard. But they're, they're fun. But if you're gonna blame the culture of violence instead of guns, then you probably, I don't know. It's just remarkably stupid people who don't think one step ahead of what they're going to say. They just know they need to say something other than the obvious factual answer. So.
Yeah, exactly. Have you played Fallout?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, I played Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas.
Have you played Fallout 4 yet?
Yeah, I played some of it. Yeah, I think so. The Fallout games, though, the problem with them is you get bogged down in so many side missions. The world's so big, and there's so many people asking you to do so many things. I've never finished a Fallout game, even though I've wanted to, but I just get, so wrapped up in doing, like, I want to upgrade this gun, or I want to, create a robot who will help me, or I want to finish this thing of armor, or I've got like 20 side quests that I need to do, and I'm confused about where I'm supposed to go on this one, so I forget about the main missions, and I just stop playing eventually when a new game comes out. So they're good games in a way.
Yeah, I've just heard that people are very, obsessed with those lately. So.
Really? Fallout hasn't had a new game for several years, though. Fallout 4 was like at least 1 or 2 years ago.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Oh, is it Far Cry, maybe? Am I thinking of that?
Far Cry 5, possibly.
Far Cry 5, yeah. I think that's the other one people are talking about.
Yeah, I've played pretty much all of the Far Cries.
Yeah, I think that must be the one that people are, because that one just came out in March. So.
Yeah, it's about like a religious cult leader in the Midwest or somewhere, and it's supposedly sort of political, but apparently not really, or something. I think they kind of they toyed with the idea of being like, political, but then they made it, sort of a religious cult, so that it doesn't actually. Yeah. So it's not like you're actually massacring Trump voters, which is. If they had the courage of their convictions, then I might have picked it up. But
well, I'll tell you who kept it real was the Wolfenstein franchise, because they had a new Wolfenstein, I guess, come out right around the time that remember when Richard Spencer got punched in the face when he was explaining what Pepe was, the neo-Nazi guy.
Yeah, that was a fun video.
Yeah, they had a commercial that they posted on their Twitter account for Wolfenstein that was like punch more Nazis or whatever right after that. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was they kept it real. They kept it true to their roots, because that's what it's about. It's about defeating werewolf Nazis. So you gotta keep it 100.
Yeah. So I've never been big on Wolfenstein, like Wolfenstein. I played the Duke Nukem reboot when they came out with that, and it was an amazing game in some ways. It was a horrible game in other ways. But I've never been really big on those old school shooters, since the early 90s with Doom and stuff. Although I did play some of the Dooms that they've re-released and stuff, and they've made some updated versions of those. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think modern shooters like Call of Duty, where you can aim down the iron sights and stuff, like a lot of those old shooters, you're just like shooting from the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or directly from the center of your screen with like a gun that's not at all realistic and stuff. But I don't know. Later games have become much more realistic, or they give you more control or something. I don't know. Anyways.
Sounds like you almost agree with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Wait, what did he say?
Well, he was just saying that, like, basically it's the fault of video games and abortion and whatever for devaluing human life. Do you think it's desensitizing people?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think, violent entertainment versus, I think it's, again, a correlation rather than a causation situation. Like, if you're the type of person who is okay with massacring civilians in public, you're also not going to have any qualms about playing a video game where you also get to shoot people. I think there are millions, if not billions, of people who play violent video games who never ever commit violence.
Well, it's kind of like how they say marijuana is a gateway drug, but honestly, if you're going to do heroin anyway, you're not going to stop at marijuana first. You're not going to turn that down in the meantime. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's a detail that a lot of people, I don't know. We don't have the best thinkers these days.
No, we don't.
Not that I'm the best thinker, but I'm just saying,
they're not sending us our best people. They're best people.
Yeah, we're not winning anymore with these thinkers. So, in other news, I heard that I think I think Sweden is preparing for like World War III now or something today. They're rearming their nuclear fallout shelters that have been like decommissioned since the Cold War, and they're distributing warnings about how to survive in the case of a war to all citizens or something like that, because they think Russia is a threat again, and they don't feel probably like that America is going to counterbalance it right now, obviously. So,
I mean, yeah, we want them to pay up, right? I mean, that's Trump's thing, right? Is he wants them to pay like 3% of their GDP or else. That's the new line.
Well, I mean, it's probably similar to the mafia racket, anyways, because they pay 3% of their GDP or whatever, and then. He's still going to not stand up to Russia if push comes to shove, of course. So, you pay protection, and your storefront maybe still gets damaged by some rogue guy who's a made man, and so you can't actually, get revenge, and so it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bizarre world, but yeah, probably smart of them to at least be thinking ahead, I guess, especially since, Russia's on their doorstep or whatever, so.
Yeah, well, Japan's remilitarizing. I don't know. I'm not sure it's a bad thing if Europe remilitarizes, although, in the 20th century, hopefully they figure out that they don't need to be fighting each other. But they don't need to be, necessarily colonizing the rest of the world, but they do need to be preparing for threats that America is not going to deal with. And this is another thing, like with this thing where, a whole bunch of liberals and a lot of conservatives are like, no, we can't, or well, anyways, a lot of liberals in some respects are saying like, we can't impeach Trump because then we'll get Pence, and Pence is worse. It's like. Pence probably doesn't have any compunctions about bombing Russia if we have to. That's a big deal, in a lot of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that he should, but I'm just saying like the fact that he would be willing to means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, they don't have compromat on him that we know about, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see. But, so that's going on. Trying to think, what's going on with I hope to God that Mueller didn't actually tell Giuliani and them that, they don't feel that they have the authority to bring charges against Donald Trump or whatever.
I seriously doubt that's true. I think every leak you've heard from this has been from the Trump and Trump-affiliated side. As far as I've heard, as far as I understand, Trump or Mueller doesn't leak. Like, this is not his style. It's go to work, button down, don't talk to anyone, do your job. And the questions that they came up with, surely you heard about the list of questions that they supposedly want him to answer under oath. That came from the Trump team as well. And it was like a speculative list of what they thought they were going to ask. So even that wasn't really, they haven't shared a list with them. They're just guessing at what the list would be based on, what they're wanting to know about. So, I don't know. I wouldn't put too much stock into that, honestly. They're probably just trial ballooning stuff to see how it plays. You know what I mean? Like to see if any of the Republicans will give them any pushback of any kind. And so far, I haven't seen much. So.
Yeah, it's a total mess. But, I think, the question needs to be asked, like, is the president above the law? Is that actually what the Republicans are arguing? Because it seems like that's what they're arguing right now.
That's the road they're going down, yeah, I believe.
And we know that they wouldn't do that if it was a Democratic president. They want to hold Clinton to some sort of standard, and they wanted to get Obama for something, and they certainly wanted to preemptively get Hillary for something. But like with Donald Trump, it's like, oh, the president, he's the president. He can't commit a crime. He can't arrest the president.
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution only provides for a political solution to this in the form of impeachment, so it's a rough situation. So, I mean, but that, provides for it being more of a, I don't know, legitimate seeming in people's eyes rather than the president being hauled away in handcuffs, even though you or I did certain things.
Perfectly probably legitimate to me.
Yeah,
right now.
I know.
I mean, like, the thing is, like, I mean, they can handle Donald Trump with kid gloves, but Trump supporters are going to cry foul no matter what they do.
Well, that's what Roger Stone's argument is he's saying that if this impeachment starts, they'll have a civil war or something.
People are even calling for like impeachment already and that sort of stuff. Do you think there's any chance that he might be impeached?
The people who are calling for impeachment are the people who didn't vote for him. They need to get over it. They lost. Their candidate had every advantage. She spent $2 billion. He spent $275 billion. Sorry, he whipped her ass. It's over. You lost. Try to impeach him. Just try it. You will have a spasm of violence in this country, an insurrection like you've never seen.
You think?
No question.
You think if he got impeached, like the country
Both
would go
sides are heavily armed, my friend. Yes, absolutely. This is not 1974. The people will not stand for impeachment. A politician who votes for it would be endangering their own life. There will be violence on both sides. I'll make this clear. I'm not advocating violence, but I'm predicting it.
You're predicting that if he got impeached, there'd be some sort of civil war type...
Yes, I do. That's what I think will happen.
Yeah, it's treason.
Yeah, well, which is really interesting because it's the support the troops crowd theoretically shooting troops, which is kind of amazing. If you follow the Second Amendment logic to its ultimate conclusion, that's where you're at. If you're saying that you need these weapons to fight a tyrannical government, well, what's that going to look like? It's going to look like you shooting police and fire and National Guard and Army and whoever else, from the government. So, all right, you want to criticize Colin Kaepernick for kneeling or whatever, but that this is what you're actually arguing for if you play it out. So let's think about what we're saying here.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they think that North Korea will have occupied the United States by the time they actually have to resist the government.
No, I see. So sneaky.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new Red Dawn yet, but I'm pretty sure that's the Republican playbook. So.
Exactly.
I saw the 80s one. So.
Oh, of course. Yeah, who didn't? Wasn't that Emilio Estevez in that one? Or was that Charlie Sheen? Yeah, have to look it up. Red Dawn.
Ooh, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think what else is going on. Let's see. This past week, I read the original Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park over here.
What'd you think of that?
It was not a great book, but it was wildly entertaining, and I finished it within a week. So it's gripping, but his characters are ridiculous. His characters, like it's always very one-sided. Like in every exchange, there's one person who knows what they're doing and one person who doesn't know what they're doing. And like the one person who knows what they're doing is always right. The other person is always wrong and sniveling and cowardly, and eventually gets eaten by a raptor or something, deservedly. But the raptors are bad, even though because they're killing people. But they're killing all the people Michael Crichton wants dead, and the people who respect them don't die.
Do you respect the raptors, you mean?
Yeah. The people who respect the raptors and have a genuine interest in their intelligence, like those people never die. But the other people are like, oh God, I've got a child. Don't rip my torso. Rip. Did you ever see the Velociraptor meme? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember any of the things the Velociraptors said. This is Velociraptor, not Velociraptor, but yeah, those were a pretty funny meme.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I've also recently rewatched all of the Jurassic Park movies, and actually, like one thing that's funny is like when I watch a movie, I like to go to YouTube and like watch all the reviews of the movie later to just figure out what people are thinking,
but not the reaction.
What the reaction
videos.
to that movie was. And no, I don't watch reaction videos. We've covered before. Exhibitionist drama queen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Is pablum, is that a word?
Yeah, pablum. Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
Pablum is like baby food. Like it's soft, palpable, doesn't have any texture. It's just very digestible.
Yeah, then I think that's the word I was intending to use. Mm-hmm. So, but basically, like everybody loves the first two Jurassic Parks, but they shit all over the third Jurassic Park. And when I rewatched them, I was actually like, you know what? Actually, the third movie, in some ways, was almost better than the second.
Really? Even the part where the dinosaur talks to him on the plane in the dream?
He had PTSD in the situation. It was the Velociraptor was his comfort dog or whatever.
Hello,
what is the thing the military families have now?
Emotional support animal.
Yeah, the Velociraptor. That was his PTSD trigger / emotional support animal on the plane. Please understand his unique situation.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna need some.
It was a moment.
I'm gonna need to see some paperwork to allow this Velociraptor on the plane as your emotional support animal. Yeah,
but I mean, at the same time, like the thing was, like people bitch and moan about William H. Macy and Téa Leoni as this couple that like, had lied and they're like, oh, these guys should be the bad guys. Why do they get to survive? They should be killed. In Michael Crichton's logic. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, I can understand their situation. They're a divorced couple. The new father, the stepfather of the kid takes him like, parasailing near the island, and they get stranded there, and the stepfather dies, and that brings his real parents back together. And which actually, like, people are like, I didn't get it. What was this side plot about? Why did they need to have this plot? Those people should have been eaten. They lied about it. They didn't have enough money to pay Dr. Grant to come back to the island, but they lied, and they said he did. Okay, but they were trying to save their son. And number two, actually, all the way from the book, the theme of children dealing with divorce has been a constant, right? In the first one, the two kids who come to the island are there because they're visiting their grandfather because their parents are going through a messy divorce at the time. And in the second movie, what is it? The girl who is Jeff Goldblum's daughter, which was an interesting choice. I don't know. There was, I don't know. Anyways, obviously he was not with her mother anymore, and he was dealing with a girlfriend who was making constant bad choices that were getting people killed.
If only they'd listened to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, but actually in the, I don't know, in the book, everybody talks about the chaos theory and stuff, but it's like, I don't think that chaos theory actually explains what was going to happen. It's like, it was just kind of this like psychobabble stuff that he talked about all the time. It's like, I mean, it's so vague that it could apply to anything basically. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks it's just kind of pseudo intellectual stuff. I'm sure chaos theory is a real thing, and maybe somebody can explain it. But
right. Well, I mean, there's a trope in storytelling, especially like science fiction, where you take a semi-obscure or obscure scientific theory and basically use it to be the explainer for your plot and your motivations of the people in the plot. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a handy shorthand. Like,
yeah.
I was thinking of in the, you remember that Coen Brothers movie, The Man Who Wasn't There? Black and white, Billy Bob Thornton.
I think I saw that.
Yeah,
I think I saw that.
Well, there's a part where his lawyer in that movie...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, yeah. I forget what the name of this theory is, but it's like when you look at something, it changes it. Like, you can't observe something without...
Heisenberg?
Yeah, right, exactly, Heisenberg.
And actually, I think that theory is widely misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard of the actual explanation, you're looking at it... it's actually much more benign. A lot of people think the fact that like we're watching something, the fact that our eyes are on it or whatever,
mm-hmm.
physically makes it change, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that the point is that like, God, I don't know. It's extremely complicated, but I've read articles where people say that that's actually not how it's.
Sure.
Most people misunderstand it, anyways.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But it was used. I'm just saying it was used in that story to explain the rest of the story as like a crude framework for you understanding the philosophy behind the motivations of the characters. It's like a hacky thing to do because it's like, let's take this theory and now it explains everything.
Yeah. Well, I have to give some respect to Michael Crichton because apparently some of his theories about dinosaurs in the first book were controversial at the time and turned out to be true. So he came down on the right side of those.
Like what?
But I just felt like, I forget what the things were that, I don't know, the dinosaurs evolved into birds, possibly. I think that was one of them that he talked about.
And that wasn't like accepted theory before?
No, apparently in the late 80s, early 90s, that was pretty controversial and not widely accepted. But he had his main character mouthing that, and then it turned out to be true. So to some degree, I mean, he did his homework in a lot of these areas and stuff, and he included some of the, modern up-to-date science in his characters who were, talking about this knowledgeably, and he turned out to be right on some of this stuff. So, I mean, he's a smart guy, and he did his homework in some areas, but he can't write characters for shit, hardly. And the chaos theory thing just felt really, just jammed in there in an unnatural way, I would say. And so, like, actually, when Dr. Grant or Dr. Neal or whatever his name is, wait, who's the actor?
Sam Neill? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, Dr. Grant, I guess, is the character.
Mm-hmm.
When he finds the kid and stuff on the island in Jurassic Park 3, spoiler alert, the kid's not dead. Go figure. See every Hollywood movie ever. When he finds it, he's like, I read your book. And he's like, oh, what do you think? He's like, I liked it. He's like, I read what's his name? Jeff Goldblum's book too. And he's like, what do you think of that? And he's like, I don't know. He was just talking about the chaos theory a lot, and he seemed really full of himself. And I'm like, yes. So, he was good in the first movie. I mean, in the second movie, he, kind of functions as the Cassandra character, whatever, wanting everybody. I guess he kind of did in the first one too, although in the second movie he doesn't talk about chaos theory anymore. So, But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it was enjoyable, and I feel like if people honestly go back and rewatch them close together, the first one is an amazing movie with some small problems. The second one is a pretty good movie. It's thoroughly enjoyable with some problems.
This is the Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn. That's
a name we haven't heard in a while.
I don't know. Yeah, there was like I don't know what kind of character he's supposed to be. Like he's gained some weight and he's come out as a conservative in the past few years, I think. So I
think he's more in the libertarian camp, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't distinguish hardly. That's another story for another day, but there's one scene where like this British guy who's supposed to be, he's like financing the whole like military Neo Africa safari hunting expedition with the Postal Thwaite, whatever guy from Romeo and Juliet. I forget his full name, but like that guy, he can act. Yeah. Yeah, he took Ben Kingsley to acting class.
Is that Christopher
from The Simpsons? Yeah, he's talking about Alec Baldwin or Billy Baldwin or something.
Yeah, Billy Baldwin.
One of the lesser Baldwins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whichever one they could wrangle for the slasher movie that he wrote.
Yeah, boy, The Sopranos. Oh boy, they had some great lines in there. Yeah, so his character did a really good job in there too, I think. But like, there's this British guy who basically financed the whole thing or something, and he's like telling him, "Okay, guys, I think we better start moving ahead now." And all the like mercenaries he's hired and is paying their paychecks are like just sitting around like, "Fuck this guy." And then like Vince Vaughn's like, "Come on, guys, let's get the hell out of here." And they all get up and follow him. And I'm like, "Wait, Vince Vaughn? Vince Vaughn is the manly man that the tough guys are responding to here?"
Yeah.
How? Why? What has he done aside from sabotaging your camp and getting people like injured, letting all the dinosaurs go inside the camp at night when you were there? Like, he's the one who did that, and you guys like, yeah, this guy's a badass.
But like, he has such a square jaw.
He used to.
It's gotten a little curvature to it in the last few years.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know, man. I need to do some more sit-ups and push-ups my damn self. I don't know, but still. Yeah. So, anyways, enjoyable movies, enjoyable looks. Very much looking forward to the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or whatever.
Yeah, have you seen the other most recent one before that?
Yeah, I saw it too, and it looks like they're going to continue down this line of like, raptors that are helping Chris Pratt for some reason, and genetically modified dinosaurs that never actually existed, which is not going to age well, I'm going to say. There were probably, I don't know, there were thousands and thousands of species of dinosaurs probably, like, surely. Just keep digging back into the fossil record. Stop trying to like, okay, we combined it with a frog and a toad and a velociraptor and a tyrannosaurus and a gecko, so it can change colors or something. Yeah, it's like it's a huge hybrid animal. It's the most badass thing. It's like you got a 5-year-old to design a monster. It's like he can change color and he can climb and he can scratch and he can kill the Tyrannosaurus. And, he's very powerful.
Yeah, I can't remember why I didn't like that one. I can't remember if I thought it was too violent or if the like dinosaurs moved in a way that didn't seem realistic. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. I remember it was too long. That's all I remember from it. I think every movie is too long lately.
That's what she said.
It's true. It is what she said.
Oh, God. Oh, that's a perfect setup.
Yep. I set them up, you knock them down.
I remember it was too long. That's what I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's I've complained about the James Bond movies. I've complained about the Batman movies. I would complain about all the Marvel movies, I'm sure, if I ever bothered to watch any of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the new thing. It's like everything's going to be too long because I think it adds some gravitas. It doesn't, and it's going to make them age poorly.
Yeah. Have you seen Black Panther yet?
No, I do want to see that because
I think it just came out on DVD. We're going to look for it.
Okay.
Here soon. I've got to get back into those.
I was thinking I could go back and dig into my collection here. I could get into the Wire again. Maybe we could go through those, do some discussion episodes of the Wire.
Okay.
I know we have this problem of starting media discussion things where
we still have a Bill O'Reilly, Those Who Trespass podcast in the somewhere.
Yeah, we're still working on the Michael Wolff book, but I think we can do 100 and so episodes of a television show, hourly television.
I think The Wire is less than 100.
Okay, 60-some or whatever it is.
I think it's less than that.
5 seasons of.
Not sure it even cracked 50. Let me look.
Well, we don't got to do an episode by episode.
60 episodes for The Wire. Okay. 60 episodes.
I think we could watch chunks of that and deal with that, because I think it would keep you on a motherfucking watching schedule. Because I'm worried you're going to flake out on The Wire again, which is a huge mistake.
It's a definite possibility. But no, let's see. I've gotten through the second episode, and I saw where they go to the towers at night, and there's that kid laying on the hood of the car, and what's the Polish guy's name?
Agent Przebylewski.
Przebylewski yells at him and punches him with the butt of his service weapon, and the kid loses an eye, and they call yeah.
I mean, you don't find that topical as far as police violence and stuff or whatever?
Sure, it's topical. Yeah, makes sense.
Not compelling?
No, it's compelling. It seemed less realistic today, only because if that happened today, there would be a camera somewhere, either in the car or on a body camera or something. So there'd probably be a piece of video to argue about from there. So.
Well, but the thing is, this is almost a 20-year-old series, basically, based on stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s.
It's post 9/11.
So, the story is, but it's based on his experiences, from what I understand, in the 80s and 90s.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it started in 2002 and went through 2008, so it's firmly in the W era.
But, yeah, he said it. He said it in that time. He said it basically in the current time. But from what I understand, the stuff. He is referencing some real people and real events and stuff.
Yeah, no. His book Homicide: Year on the Killing Streets came out in '91. So, yeah, it's late '80s, early '90s was when he was writing that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, Bob, you got to keep watching because, what do you think of Przebylewski right now?
He's a bad person, and he uses his gun too much because he already shot a hole in the wall of the basement where they're working there.
All right. Well, Bob, I'm just going to say character arc, okay?
All right.
Just keep watching because they're not done with Przebylewski or a lot of people.
I figured. They're going to have to fill these episodes somehow. Some people end up where they start. Some people get what's coming to them. Some people go a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, this is, you can't watch 2 episodes and think, oh man, I don't know about this. Ooh. It's trust me, it goes places.
Okay. All right.
Przebylewski, the question you've got to be asking yourself with him is what happens when you take away his gun and you take him off the police force, and then he does something else in the community. What could he do? Mm-hmm. And, can he be redeemed as a character?
I don't know. Seems pretty incompetent and kind of racist at this point, so We'll see.
I'm not, see, this is the thing. I can't talk about what's coming because I can't give you spoilers, but, you know, I don't know. It's the show will really, really, really make you think. Let's just say that.
Okay. I see.
So, yeah. So maybe over the next couple of days I'll start slowly rewatching those, and I don't know, what if we, like, by the time we next record, what if we got up to like episode 5 or something, maybe?
I could try to get there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would give us something to talk about. I mean,
besides
also,
this rest of this Michael Wolff book.
Oh God, Michael Wolff.
Come on, man, we're a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah. So speaking of Michael Wolff, did you want to get to that?
Yeah, we may as well.
I'm thinking of that book I haven't read, Moby Dick. The first chapter is called Loomings, right?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know why I know that. I think it was a Foxtrot comic in the early 90s or something.
Interesting. Well, we finished with the Jarvanka chapter last, I remember, when we talked about it last. So I believe the chapter we're on now is At Home, chapter 6.
At Home. Okay, yes. All right, I got my thing out here. All right, let me see. This is, okay, so we're starting today on page 83. And it looks like we will be going up to page 94. Okay, this may be not too bad.
How many notes do you have, and what did you underline?
Well, let me tell you. Let me read them to you. All right, At Home. I'm trying to remember what this topic was about. Is this about the family or something, or what?
Let's look here. I believe this is just settling into the White House, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in January now, so it's after the inauguration, and we're starting the first month of the Trump presidency, basically.
Okay. At this point, Michael Cohen has only just opened his political advising company so that he can funnel money from people who might want to curry favor with Donald Trump. Oh, I might have mentioned some jokes last night. I had a good joke, I think. I have a series of jokes about corruption because it's an easy joke to make in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is like, why did the businessman take the politician to an Indian restaurant?
Mm-hmm. Why?
Okay, because he wanted to curry flavor with him.
Good one.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the other one? Okay, the other two jokes require some knowledge of Korean, which I will try to provide. Do you think I should provide it before the fact or after the fact?
Which will be more humorous?
I don't know. They're both great ways to spoil a joke.
I guess after. Do after.
I think maybe I ought to do it before, but okay.
Okay, do it before.
All right. So the word bupe in Korean, spelled one way, means corruption, literally. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and the other thing you might. Well, God, if I give the other part, it's going to give it away. Okay. So, what kind of restaurant did the businessman take the politician to? And the answer is he took him to a bupe. Because Koreans can't say buffet, or they refuse to say buffet. They say either bupe or bupe instead of buffet. So, but the funny thing is, bupe, the way they spell it for buffet, is spelled a little bit differently than the way they spell bupe for corruption, but the pronunciation is essentially the same.
Okay.
And so, like, he took him to a corruption, or he took him to a buffet restaurant. Either way, that's the joke. Again, it's hilarious. Like, Koreans crack up when I tell this joke, but like, you have to have some working knowledge of Korean pronunciation as well as the Korean word for corruption. But obviously, yeah, whatever. Okay, what was the other one? The other one, the one that I had last week, I was trying to explain the expression "hammer out the details." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did the two businessmen choose a seafood restaurant for their second meeting together?
I don't know why.
Okay, and the answer is because they want to do hemul out the details. In Korean, hemul means seafood. So hammer out the.
I see where you're going.
Because sometimes, like, my student was mispronouncing hammer out the details when I was trying to teach him that expression. He was saying hammer out the details, and I was like, no, not hammer like seafood, but hammer like a tool. And so I was like, ooh, I got a good joke right there. Yeah, they were hammer out the details at the seafood restaurant. So I've got a whole series. I've got a whole bit about
some language humor
in Korea.
Yeah, corruption.
Yeah,
play on words.
Yep. So, anyways, that's something.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about starting a business. I think I might have mentioned last night about like some sort of like a T-shirt company where I make dumb jokes with Korean and English together.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I've actually started. I'll send you the links to it, but we've started. Ash and I are starting a T-shirt thing like that. We're still in the free trial area, so we need to like step it up and start producing these things. But
what kind of T-shirts are you going to make? Though, like funny ones?
Yeah, basically.
I think funny is like the way to go because like. Definitely. If you see a funny T-shirt, you're going to want to buy it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think I think it's Cafe Press was one, and then let me look here. It was like Shopify was the store, and then it was like two things you connect together. One is the place you sell it, and then the other place is the place that makes the shirt.
Yeah. I have an apple. I have a pen. But it'll be a connect, right?
Right? Exactly.
So
you got it.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us like one of the punchlines that would be on a shirt, for example, just to like kind of wet everybody's whistle for these shirts?
Well, the idea for the shirt that we had is rosé wine has been kind of like the new thing that people are into now. Around here, like that's the new, like getting ready for summer, it's spring now, you know, that kind of thing. So we're gonna do Cray for Rosé.
Okay, interesting. For the religious folks, you could also say maybe pray for rosé.
Pray for rosé. Our other idea was Frisky for whiskey, but apparently there was already a whiskey called Frisky Whiskey, so I don't think that's going to work. I googled Cray for rosé, so no one steal it out there, listeners. This is my idea.
You better trademark that real quick, Bob.
I'm trying to get it out there. I'm trying to get it out there, but
yeah, I might steal it and start selling it in Korea.
Oh, don't you dare.
Although I don't think anybody knows what rosé is.
No, probably not. Probably not. You could probably think of one for soju, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You don't know how to
print. Here we go. The two companies are Printful, Printful, and Shopify, Shopify. Shopify is the store. Printful makes the T-shirts. So
this could be how we make our first million.
This is how we're gonna do it, man. Just need the right marketing. That's all we need. And the ideas.
The burgeoning media empire doesn't take off first.
We got to start making some merch. We got to start making some merch.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think the future is all rosy. We've got so many, what do we say, sticks in the fire? How does that go?
Oh, irons in the fire?
We got so many irons in the fire, we don't know which one's going to catch on fire first.
We don't know. We're just throwing them out there. Throwing whatever we can against the wall and seeing what sticks, right?
Yeah. Might be a good time to remind our viewers about the Patreon.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I don't think anyone's signed up yet. I mean, I don't really offer anything other than just give me money. But honestly, I've probably set up like a PayPal or some other way to just, if you want to send money, just send money. Because I think Patreon works better if you give people rewards or like exclusive content. And I'm not doing that yet. But I don't know what kind of exclusive content I'd give them. I also like to keep it free. I keep it everyone hear everything. I don't like to have. I understand the freemium model where you give some things for free, you give other things for not free. I don't know. I kind of like it. Keep it free for the people. To hear everything.
Yeah, you don't want to split the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. But, I don't know. Hopefully some of our listeners will avail themselves of that. Although I have to say, Big Daddy Cha-Cha is not part of that. I make nothing off this, so I can totally endorse it.
I haven't paid you a cent for this. This is all free labor.
You know what? God damn it. We might have to renegotiate that.
You don't think I can find another drunk person in South Korea to talk to?
Not the one who has copious notes on Michael Wolff.
That's probably not, no. Probably only one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, did you see that, who's the Iranian Supreme Leader now, whoever that guy is? Apparently he was seen reading Fire and Fury, the Farsi edition.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting that it was printed in that it was translated, but I don't know on which end they did that.
Yeah. It's probably a bootleg, but still getting the inside scoop on the Trump White House from Michael Wolff.
Yeah. Well, I guess this book is not going to analyze itself.
No, it doesn't. It's not very self-reflective in that way.
Okay. At Home, Chapter 6, page 83.
Mm-hmm.
Within the first weeks of his presidency, a theory emerged among Trump's friends that he was not acting presidential, or really in any way taking into account his new status or restraining his behavior. From early morning tweets to his refusal to follow scripted remarks to his self-pitying calls to friends, details of which were already making it into the press because he hadn't taken the leap that others before him had taken. Yeah. So,
I'd say that's true.
The new life. Yeah, but this new life would not have been that different from Trump's former life in Trump Tower. The big deal of being president was not so apparent to him, unlike apparently most other people who become president. The 72-year-old Trump was a creature of habit at a level few people without despotic control of their environment could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to the next page. His corner office was a time capsule from the 1980s. The same gold-lined mirrors, the same Time magazine covers fading on the wall. Trump found the White House an old building with only sporadic upkeep and piecemeal renovations, as well as a famous roach and rodent problem, to be vexing and even a little scary. Friends who admired his skills as a hotelier wondered why he just didn't remake the place, but he seemed cowed by the weight of the watchful eyes on him. This is apparently the first time since the Kennedy White House that a presidential couple had maintained separate rooms, although Melania was spending scant time so far in the White House. In the first days, he ordered 2 television screens in addition to the one already there, and a lock on the door, precipitating a brief standoff with the Secret Service, who insisted they have access to the room. He reprimanded the housekeeping staff for picking up his shirt from the floor. If my shirt is on the floor, it's because I want it on the floor. Then he imposed a set of new rules. Nobody touch anything, especially not his toothbrush. He had a long-time fear of being poisoned, one reason why he liked to eat at McDonald's. Nobody knew he was coming, and the food was safely pre-made.
Yeah, I never understood that. It's so gross. But I guess if you like one thing and you get it a certain way, you can depend on it for, I don't know. It's so disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of McDonald's, actually, I just read I think it was an Atlantic piece. I'm not sure where it was from exactly, but they went through what was in a chicken McNugget. And actually, I stopped eating chicken McNuggets when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I think. Maybe 10 or 11, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
because I was eating one, I bit down in something that crunched, and I just about fucking vomited in the restaurant. And ever since that day, I've never touched another single chicken nugget. I used to like them, but this article details like some microbiologists or something, or micro something people, like some sort of scientists. They analyzed the contents of a randomly selected chicken nuggets from some unnamed fast food chain, which is probably McDonald's, and they contain like gastrointestinal tract parts from the chicken, bone parts, what's the thing in our nose, cartilage, all this crap that nobody in their right mind wants to eat.
Right.
And
well, they turn it into that
together.
pink slime before they make it into the nugget shape or whatever.
I don't know. Is the pink slime that's for the hamburgers though, isn't it? I don't know that that's for
maybe. I don't know. All I know is that Taco Bell had to repackage their ingredients because apparently most of the meat in the tacos wasn't actually meat. It was like just filler.
I gotta say, I think the Taco Bell chicken is not terrible usually by comparison, but yeah, I haven't eaten chicken nuggets for a long time, and I finally read an article a few weeks ago that told me, Cha, you were correct. There was something that was not kosher in that chicken nugget. So, good move.
Yeah. I don't believe anyone who's like, oh, it's fine. You know what I mean? Because we'll always find out in a few years it wasn't fine or whatever. Like I was working on the computer at my apartment complex's like clubhouse thing that's like a common area, and some guy came along and he was like in a bug zapping outfit, and like he had this like can of like insecticide, and he started spraying it like right next to me, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like I'm sitting here, like, and he was like, oh, it's odorless and tasteless and it's totally safe for humans, and I'm like, I'm sure that's what they tell you. Like I'm sure it's not.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, we'll find out in 50 to 60 years.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Weird cancer.
Yeah, it was our cell phones all along, but
yeah. So, well, anyways, yeah. So, don't eat chicken McNuggets. I guess.
Don't do it.
Or think about it. Yeah. You don't want to eat bones or cartilage or intestinal tract from a chicken.
No, not at all.
Anything like that. They analyzed the meat like on a molecular, submolecular level or something. It was crazy. The quote-unquote meat. It was actually very little meat, I think.
Not meat, no.
Anyways, we gotta keep reading.
Yes, we do.
So Trump is saying, this is why he doesn't want anybody in his room. He wants locks on the doors. He wants to eat McDonald's. And they also said, he would let housekeeping know when he wanted his sheets done, and he would strip his own bed. If he was not having his 6:30 dinner with Steve Bannon, then more to his liking, he was in bed by that time with a cheeseburger, watching his 3 screens and making phone calls. The phone was his true contact point with the world, to a small group of friends, among them most frequently Tom Barack, who's charted his rising and falling levels of agitation through the evening and then compared notes with one another. Okay. So I guess his confidants were not so discreet, perhaps, as he might hope. Although I don't know. I think Trump likes a certain kind of discretion when it comes to urine and hotel rooms and prostitutes, but beyond that, I don't think discretion is really the name of the game for him.
No. Well, wasn't there a thing also with Barack Obama and his BlackBerry? He wouldn't give it up or something, or he didn't want to?
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't remember how that turned out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, nothing ever really came of it.
Well, I mean, obviously he wasn't doing anything that was that questionable, but yeah.
I imagine eventually the iPhone came out.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they even make BlackBerries anymore.
Yeah, it's a sad story. All those Washington types are like, I still use my BlackBerry. I love that BlackBerry. Mm-hmm. And the rest of America's like, I guess we missed that fad.
Yeah.
I never had a BlackBerry.
Yeah. I had a Palm Pilot for a time.
I had a PDA.
I think that's what that was. Yeah, I forget. It was actually
public
a Palm Pilot.
display of affection.
Public display of affection. Yeah, I've had one of those before too.
I try to avoid that.
Unseemly.
No, I really did have a BDA back in freshman year of college or something, and I don't know whatever happened to the thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what to do with it. My life was not yet that chaotic that I needed an organizer, I don't think. But although it would later become so.
I think my parents got one for me before I went to college too, and I don't think I ended up using it at all. But I think I put my birthday in the calendar, and that was pretty much all I did.
Say, that's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely.
You won't forget that.
No,
year.
Absolutely not. Now that I put it in here,
problem solved. Yeah, I don't know what our parents thought we were going to be doing in college that we would need that, but
I don't know.
Maybe there's a way to calculate blood alcohol content or something. Inside, that would have been a nice feature.
Right.
But let's see. Okay, well let's continue. I got to keep going here because my bedtime rapidly approaches.
Okay.
Got to wake up at 5:20 in the morning.
Oh, geez.
Let's see. Let's see. Talking about, what was it, Neil Gorsuch or something?
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court nominee. Yep. They robbed Obama. It should be totally illegal. As long as we're not respecting the law and the way things are supposed to work, I hope the next Democratic president takes full advantage of the fact that we're just basically throwing all the rules out the window with this guy.
It's only going to be for Trump and no one else. It's going to snap back to how it was for everyone else after this. I've had this hope, but I don't think it's going to last. No, I mean it does. I mean it does show how unconcerned they actually are with what they say they're concerned about. I mean, if you want to look at the Roy Moore situation, that was one gift from that, is that we get to see how all these people who claim to be so offended by the personal behavior of public people are suddenly just throwing themselves every value they ever said they had out the window for a chance at power, and we know that now. It doesn't mean that they'll ever extend that to anyone else, but we at least know that we have demonstrable proof that they don't actually care about these things. They just care about getting into office. So,
yeah, I wish the Democrats would realize that if, as we've said, I think the theme of this podcast, the motto of the podcast should be hypocrisy doesn't matter anymore. Because that's just something that Democrats need to get through their heads. And I hope they run buck wild next time with our president because, it's like a top spinning, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it starts spinning off balance, it's like it goes too far to one side and it has to go back too far to the other side. If Democrats keep trying to hold the middle while we keep spinning to the right, moving the Overton window or whatever people talk about sometimes.
Yep.
So, but anyways, next part's talking about Neil Gorsuch's nomination. It says, pleased by how the nomination was received, especially by how little fault the media could find with it, Trump would shortly become a Gorsuch fan. But before settling on Gorsuch, he wondered why the job wasn't going to a friend and loyalist. In the Trump view, it was rather a waste to give the job to someone he didn't even know. At various points in the process, he had run through almost all of his lawyer friends, all of them unlikely, if not peculiar, choices, and in almost every case, political non-starters. The one unlikely, peculiar, and non-starter choice that he kept returning to was Rudy Giuliani, who's been all in the news lately, of course. Trump owed Giuliani, not that he was so terribly focused on his debts, but this was one that was certainly unpaid. Let's see. Giuliani was there for him, and in combative, fiery, and relentless fashion. This was particularly true during the hard days following Billy Bush.
Mm-hmm.
The grab him by the pussy tape.
Of course.
When virtually everybody, including the candidate himself, Bannon, Conway, and his children, believed the campaign would implode, Giuliani barely allowed himself a break from his nonstop, passionate, and unapologetic Trump defense. Giuliani wanted to be Secretary of State, and Trump had, in so many words, offered him the job. The resistance to Giuliani from the Trump circle derived from the same reason Trump was inclined to give him the job. Giuliani had Trump's ear and wouldn't let go. The staff whispered about his health and stability. Even his full-on Pussygate defense now started to seem like a liability. He was offered Attorney General, Department of Homeland Security, and Director of National Intelligence, but he turned them all down, continuing to hold out for state, or in what staffers took to be the ultimate presumption, or grand triangulation, the Supreme Court. Since Trump could not put someone openly pro-choice on the court without both sundering his base and risking defeat of his nominee, then of course he'd have to give Giuliani state. When this strategy failed, Rex Tillerson got the Secretary of State job. That should have been the end of it, but Trump kept returning to the idea of putting Giuliani on the court. On February 8th, during the confirmation process, Gorsuch took public exception to Trump's disparagement of the courts. Trump, in a moment of pique, decided to pull his nomination, and during conversations with his after-dinner callers, went back to discussing how he should have given the nod to Rudy. It's a good thing. I mean, I think it's a very good thing that he didn't give Secretary of State to Rudy Giuliani, because he didn't know that he was going to need Rudy later to be his lawyer, and go out there on TV for him. So that's kind of a, what can we say? Kind of a, when something works out perfectly. What's the word for that? There's a word.
Serendipity? Serendipitous?
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of serendipitous that he didn't give him the Secretary of State job.
Right.
I mean,
well,
Tillerson didn't work out anyways, of course, but he still needed Giuliani to be his lawyer and his TV guy.
Yeah, whatever he's paying him, it's too much. I don't think he's paying him for anything, is he? Working pro bono, right?
I think I heard there was some expression I heard one time that was like, if you put them all in a sack and started hitting with a baseball bat, you'd always hit the right one. I like that expression.
Oh my God. That's pretty good.
It doesn't even matter who you're hitting, as long as you're hitting one of them.
Yeah, right.
Deserve. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Hosting business advisory councils was a Kushner strategy. It was an enlightened business approach, distracting Trump from what Kushner viewed as the unenlightened right-wing agenda. To an increasingly scornful Bannon, its real purpose was to allow Kushner himself to consort with CEOs. Although few major company CEOs had publicly supported him, with many, if not all, big companies planning for a Hillary Clinton victory and already hiring Clinton-connected public policy teams, and with a pervasive media belief that a Trump victory would assure a market tailspin, there was suddenly an overnight warming. An anti-regulatory White House and the promise of tax reform outweighed the prospect of disruptive tweeting and other forms of Trump chaos. So this is kind of the business warming up to him, big business warming up to Trump. And of course, it is worth mentioning that, the Hillary Clinton corruption angle there was already getting started. Of course, I guess, no matter who you are, you go in there, they're going to try to court you, but they thought that was a done deal. It wasn't. Okay, I think we have, in the next page, on page 88, I think we have another typo. Michael Wolf, if you're listening to this and pondering a lawsuit, consider us your helpers.
Right, we're just trying to help you out here.
Yeah, help us help you. Help me help you. Okay. On page 88, CEOs were reporting good vibes from Trump's effusive and artful flattery, and the sudden relief of not having to deal with what some knew to be relentless Clinton team handling. What can we do for you today, and can we use your plan? What can you do for us today, and can we use your plan? Handling obviously should probably be handling, right? Unless handling is a word that I'm unfamiliar with.
How is it spelled in the book there?
Hondling. They said relentless Clinton team handling.
It's a verb. It's defined as to bargain.
Oh.
An example of to handle is to offer $20 for a collectible priced at $30.
Okay.
It's a Jewish
Michael Wolf.
Jewish phrase.
Don't sue us.
That's
Don't
right.
Sue us.
Don't do it.
Let's get together. We can handle.
We can handle out the details.
Yeah, we'll go to a Hamel Jib. We'll go to a seafood restaurant.
Get some hummus.
That's a callback.
Yep.
Callback joke.
Yep.
So
throwing it back.
Okay. Well, okay. So mea culpa. It's not a typo. It's a word that
It's an obscure Jewish phrase.
Okay. Well. Consider this Gentile educated. Let's continue here. On the other hand, there was also rising concern about the consumer side of many big brands. The Trump brand was suddenly the world's biggest brand, the new Apple, except the opposite, since it was universally disdained, at least among many of the consumers who most top brands sought to court. Let's see. Employees of Uber, ride-sharing company, the CEO of Uber joined the business council of Trump or whatever, and his employees protested. The charge was that Uber and Travis Kalanick, CEO, were collaborating with its whiff of Vichy, a much different status than a much different status than a business looking to sober forums with the president as a way of influencing the government, to influence the government. Indeed, the protesters who believed they were seeing the company's relationship with Trump in political terms were actually seeing this in conventional brand terms and zooming in on the disconnect. Uber's customer base is strongly young, urban, and progressive, and therefore out of sync with the Trump base. Let's see. Moving along, the next page here. Okay, I think when they had their meetings or something, let's see. Though Trump appeared not to have particularly or at all prepared for any of the subjects being discussed, he asked engaged and interested questions, pursuing things he wanted to know more about, making the meeting quite an easy back and forth. Let's see, the meeting went on for 2 hours. In the White House view, this was Trump at his best. He was most at home around people he respected, and these were the most respected people in the country, according to Trump, who seemed to respect him too. This became a staff goal, to create situations in which he was comfortable, to construct something of a bubble, to wall him off from a mean-spirited world. Good luck. Let's see. On page 90, this is kind of a short chapter. This was actually the kind of image that Donald Trump had worked hard to project throughout his career. He is a 1950s businessman sort of ideal. He aspires to look like his father, or anyway, not to displease his father. Except when he's in golf wear, it is hard to imagine him out of a suit and tie because he almost never is. Personal dignity, that is, apparent uprightness and respectability, is one of his fixations. He is uncomfortable when the men around him are not wearing suits and ties. Formality and convention. Before he became president, almost everybody without high celebrity or $1 billion called him Mr. Trump are a central part of his identity. Casualness is the enemy of pretense, and his pretense was that the Trump brand stood for power, wealth, and arrival. On the February 5, does that seem right?
No. Probably no the needed there. The word the probably doesn't need to be there.
And there should be a TH after the 5 for February 5th, right? Or on the 5th of February.
It depends on if you're doing AP style or not. AP style would be Feb.5, but...
Anyway. I don't know. When you're writing a nonfiction book, what style do you follow?
It depends. I don't know. It's weird. They should just have said February 5th, comma.
All right. Michael Wolf, we're redeeming ourselves here. This is page 90, last paragraph. Possible typo.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Release the hounds.
On the February 5, the New York Times published an Inside the White House story that had the president, 2 weeks into his term, stalking around in the late hours of the night in his bathrobe, unable to work the light switches. Trump fell apart. Let's see. Let's see, the next page, Bannon, who styled himself as a kind of black hole of silence, had also become a sort of official black hole voice, everybody's deep throat. He was witty, intense, evocative, and bubbling over, his theoretical discretion ever giving way to a constant semi-public commentary on the pretentiousness, the pretensions and fatuousness and hopeless lack of seriousness of most everyone else in the White House. By the second week of the Trump presidency, everybody in the White House seemed to be maintaining their own list of likely leakers and doing their best to leak before being leaked about. But another likely leak source about Trump's angst in the White House was Trump himself. In his calls throughout the day and at night from his bed, he frequently spoke to people who had no reason to keep his confidences. He was a river of grievances, including about what a dump the White House was on close inspection. Examples of which many recipients of his calls promptly spread throughout the ever attentive and merciless gossip world. Again, I think we wonder about the author here. He's talking about people that Trump confided in who had no reason to keep his confidence. I think the author might include himself amongst them, amongst their number, as it were. Okay. On February 6th, Trump made one of his seething, self-pitying, and unsolicited phone calls without presumption of confidentiality to a passing New York media acquaintance. And I wondered, who was that? Maybe possibly the author?
Could be.
Yeah, because I think this is kind of how he rounds up the chapter in these last 2 pages. Is kind of a conversation that probably he had with the president.
Yeah. Well, I want to know when he's going to release these tapes of all these conversations he had, because he claimed, like, after people were like, oh, he didn't say that. It's like, well, I got tapes. It's like, well, let's see them. I don't know. We haven't seen them yet.
I think he knows that he has more credibility than the Trump people. And
that's true.
He feels he needs to release.
That's true. Probably.
If he says he has the tapes, I'm sure he has the tapes. Or I'm sure that these people really said this stuff, and they deny it.
No doubt.
So, I think we saw I think we had the last Saturday Night Live of the year or something. Mm-hmm. Again, and I'm super pissed. I was pissed last year when they went on break too. I think it's incredibly irresponsible for Saturday Night Live to pretend that they're the voice of the people against this tyrannical government. I'm sorry, you don't get the summer off, right? Like if you consider yourself this bastion of truth and truthiness and truth telling against the Trump White House, you don't get to I don't know. Run a skeleton crew,
I mean, most of the major players that are portraying these people aren't even regular cast members anyway. You've got Ben Stiller playing Michael Cohen. You've got Robert De Niro playing Mueller. You've got Alec Baldwin playing Trump. I mean, all these people are not regular cast members. You could just have them do their own, playhouse theater or whatever.
I think you've got to keep it going. I don't get this thing where they need time off, because let's not pretend that they need the time to write new scripts for next year, because they're responding to week by week what's happening in the news. They don't need time to create a backlog. If anything, they're handicapping themselves covering this White House by taking time off, because then they're going to have to do oh my, what a busy summer we've had. Remember when Trump did this crazy thing? Oh my God, remember this other crazy thing? Oh God, how will we ever catch up?
Kind of did that, I remember, in the lead up to the election, because they had with the Thursday night thing where they would just have the news desk or whatever, the weekend update. But it would just be a Thursday update. But it wouldn't be I don't think it would be any other sketches besides that. So, I mean, they're capable of doing separate breakout things. They just haven't, but they should. You're right. I think they were hoping that Trump would be out last summer, because I think I remember the last one they did before the summer break last time, it was kind of implying that there was something, going to happen over the summer that he wouldn't be the president by the time they started the season back up, but obviously that didn't happen, so.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember that guy? I can't remember his name right now. He's a news guy. He used to live in Trump Tower or something. And he was part of the resistance, the quote unquote resistance, right? Mm-hmm. And he was doing some sort of kind of like a news and gut style, not that big, but that kind of a thing that was financed by somebody or something, where he was, what was it, the breakdown or the minute or something? I forget his name.
You're talking about Dan Rather?
No, I'm talking about he was remarkably anti-Bush too, and I think he got fired from somewhere during the Bush years too or something.
I don't know.
He has like a German name.
Sebastian Gorka?
Olbermann. Keith Olbermann.
Olbermann, yes.
Is that his name?
Yeah. He was doing something with GQ most recently. I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, that's what it was. But do you remember, like, similarly to Saturday Night Live, at one point he just said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm finished with this. Donald Trump is done after what's happened this week. He's over. Mm-hmm. And so I don't feel that I need to continue to do this. And so, good night and good luck, or whatever he always said. But I was like, I was briefly, encouraged, like, oh, well, I mean, are your corporate overlords cutting off the funding, or is, like, Trump really finished? And of course, Teflon the Don was able to endure, and so I don't know whatever happened with that guy. I don't know why he stopped doing whatever he was doing, but like, I don't know. I was watching his stuff on YouTube weekly or whatever, so I was enjoying it, but like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who.
All right, so so in November of last year, he announced his retirement from political commentary after episode 147 of his Closer with Keith Olbermann show through GQ, citing his belief that, quote unquote, this presidency of Donald John Trump will end prematurely and end soon, and thus I'm also confident that this is the correct moment to end this series of commentaries. November.
Yeah. So,
I mean, he did it a year after the election, because obviously it was November 2016 when the election happened. So I guess he only signed up for a year. Maybe he only signed a year contract.
Yeah, I feel like there was something that was not explained to the audience there. And again, it's another one of these cases where I've been pissed off by the media for, like, similarly to, Saturday Night Live. I mean, just if you're taking a principled stand against this guy, that's not a 9-to-5 job. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. like we'd be doing this podcast year round, right? Rain or shine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is not a thing where, okay, all right, well, we complained about Trump enough for this year. We'll be back in 3 months. Or I think he's done, plus my contract expired and these people are not going to keep paying me, so I'm going to stop producing these videos about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something you're not telling us there, because he's still there. If I said that and 3 months later the president was still in power, I'd be back on that grind, be like, okay, I made a prediction, I was wrong, so I'm going to keep hammering his ass. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote on election day, my final column was, Trump, you're fired, and I had to eat those words, but I didn't stop criticizing the administration, even after that, after I was wrong, so, that's not an excuse for calling it a day.
Yeah, and for any Trump listeners out there who want to say, yeah, you guys are always wrong about Trump, so you should just give up or something, like, just remember how many times you've been wrong. Mm-hmm. How many things about the Russian collusion did you say would never come to pass, and then they came to pass? And how many, we would never support a child molester, and then you had the Roy Moore thing. Mm-hmm. We would never ever. Bill Clinton's sexual impropriety was disgraceful. Oh, Donald Trump, he was a private citizen before, and he's a reformed man who.
He was a Democrat. He was a Democrat then too. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So don't bitch at us about being wrong about Donald Trump, because I guarantee you people have been wrong every bit as much, and you probably continue to be wrong more so than we do. So.
Well, I mean, I think, you can't blame people for assuming that the rules will work as they've worked all the time up until now. You know what I mean? It's like, why does this guy get a pass for all this stuff? And there's really no other reason other than the fact that the Republicans are enabling Trump at this point. So, I mean,
did you read are you familiar with, you know Matt Taibbi, right?
I do.
Rolling Stone and stuff. I've been reading him since at least like 2006 or something during the Bush years.
Yep.
He's a very good writer. I like him a lot in some ways. But I got his book, Insane Clown President. And he has a whole chapter about how I don't know if he calls it the bullet of death or the kiss of death or something, which is something the media has always been able to do to politicians or anybody in the public sphere when they want them to make amends or apologize or recant or something like that, which is they just start publishing a lot of stuff about it and, doing think pieces about it and kind of making it a thing. And inevitably the candidate or the person has to, apologize or clarify or come back to the media and try to re-explain what they meant and stuff. But Donald Trump just never did that. And so this is the first time that the media has ever attempted this, and it basically didn't work anymore. And so they were very confused about what to do. And so that was an interesting thing. I think that's something I think about too here.
Yeah, it reminds me of a tweet I saw once. It was like, I like to see Donald Trump wriggle out of this pickle. And then, it's like, in parentheses, Donald Trump wriggles out of this one. Well, nevertheless.
Yeah.
It's like every single time. It's like, we got him this time for sure. It's over. Game over, dude. Well, it's like Bill Maher even said, it's like, you don't know who's going to come, we're talking about, Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenatti and, campaign finance, got him on that. You can't, I'd like to see him argue his way out of this one. It's like, well, who's going to tell him, come with me, Mr. President, you're arrested now. Nobody's going to, I don't see him going willingly for any reason.
I want to know how he's actually going to go, because I don't see it. I saw the news today, also a big story, Michael Cohen, the lawyer, apparently was in Prague in 2016. Okay, this could be the smoking gun collusion that we've been looking for, meeting with Russians.
Another smoking gun.
I was just going to say, we actually have a few.
Yes, but this would be even...
Like his son.
This is his consigliere, his mall lawyer, his idiot fixer, is meeting directly with Russians. Okay, this would be a bigger smoking gun. I still don't understand how, even if they impeach him, Bill Clinton was impeached, you have to convict. Right. For that, you need 67 senators. And at most, the Democrats, if they win the 2018 election, are going to have, 54 senators? No. So that means you need 13 Republicans with a conscience? Good fucking luck.
And now he's toying with the idea of having more than 2 terms like FDR. And, I don't think he's going to leave willingly.
So I said, unless they give me an extension for the presidency, which I don't think the fake news media would be too happy about. Wait. Actually, they would be happy, because when I'm not here, their ratings are going to sink, so they'll probably be very happy.
The thing is, the dangerous thing about this all to democracy is when somebody's above the law. Let's say that the Supreme Court or the police or the Justice Department or somebody determines that he should be arrested as a criminal, right? Mm-hmm. The police go into the White House to arrest him, and what did the Secret Service do? Do they stand down?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? And so I think this is where you get into territory where things like coups happen, military coups, because the Secret Service, what is their duty? Their only duty is to protect the president. And if there's any plausible argument, any fig leaf that they can cling to, that it's a partisan witch hunt or something, that he's being arrested or something, then they don't have, they don't have a reason to stop protecting him, basically. And
or I mean, if you want to go deeper than that, I mean, he's kept his personal security force in addition to the Secret Service, and not to be too hyperbolic, but that is how the Nazi SS started. So,
well,
who are they going to be loyal to? Obviously, the person paying them, which would be the president.
It's okay. We'll hire Dog the Bounty Hunter to deal with them.
Yeah, right, exactly. Why didn't I think of that?
He's probably a Trump voter.
Yep.
I mean, I think they go to the same hair dye place. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, this is my concern. I can't conceptualize of how a president would be arrested,
Yeah.
And, in America, we have this noble idea, which is, we've talked about free speech before. We've talked about how people just say, oh, free speech, free speech, free speech, free speech, no restriction, right? They don't actually think about what that means or what the consequences of that are. I also think, people don't really think about the fact that essentially our president is above the law. I mean, that's a very apparently convincing argument that's being put forward these days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean it's convincing. I mean, it seems to have paralyzed news media, the mainstream media, the talking heads, the criminal justice department, the any all aspects of society that would be responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was a group of people trying to arrest Adolf Hitler or Kim Jong-un or something, we'd say, wow, what heroes in their society. But there's going to be a part of the society that is going to be protecting the president, even if there's a legal justification or, even if there's a reason to snag them and
mm-hmm.
take them to jail, put them on trial or something. I don't know. I'm just saying, what's separating the American presidency from other kinds of leadership that America does not endorse
mm-hmm.
if the leader cannot be brought to account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if the leader can't be brought to account through legal means, eventually, what is that going to necessitate? Right,
yeah,
it's eventuate.
It's a scary thing, but.
In fact, if you have Sarah Kinzinger on again, is that her name, right?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you have her again on, you might ask her about that, the fact that this president doesn't. I mean, that we're starting to see the limits of the idea that the president is not above the law being exploded here.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, what will happen, what can happen, what probably might happen if we eventually determine that the American president is not beholden to the law. How does that usually end in other countries when,
or if he pardons, or if he pardons himself, that would be another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can imagine Donald Trump pardoning himself would be hilarious, because he probably wouldn't actually pardon himself, because he'd say, I was going to come here to pardon myself today, but actually I don't think I did anything wrong, so there's nothing to pardon. What's the pardon? All right, Mr. Trump, you're going to jail.
Well, that's part of why apparently he's all gung-ho for this talking to Mueller, is because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong, or he thinks he can talk his way out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope he does.
Yeah, right. Swear him in now.
We'll see who's more clever there.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a question of if he should testify, because he can either agree to do this or with his lawyers, or he can get called in front of the grand jury and have to do it by himself. Without the lawyers, which is probably a scarier option for him. I would think you'd want the lawyers there. I mean, that's what Bill Clinton did, is he did that videotape.
Who are his lawyers at this point? Rudy Giuliani and who?
Jay Sekulow.
Jay Sekulow, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ty Cobb is gone.
Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know. Besides, he'll probably start a fight with his lawyers right there during the deposition. So. Yeah. Anyways, we got to wrap this up. So let me see. Let's see. on February 6th, Trump made one of his seething, self-pitying, and unsolicited phone calls without presumption of confidentiality to a passing New York media acquaintance who, again, we suspect may be the author of this book.
I hadn't thought about that until you said it, but I think you're right.
Yeah, he ends the chapter that way, and he's kind of setting it up like, this was kind of annoying. It was unsolicited, and there was no presumption of, I think he's kind of like annoyed. He got a late phone call that night or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe his exposure to the president was less than he would like to let on. But I don't know. Anyways, next paragraph here. What does this say? Continuing under the rubric of media he hated, he veered to CNN and the deep disloyalty of its chief, Jeff Zucker. Zucker, who as the head of NBC had commissioned The Apprentice, had been, quote-unquote, made by Trump. Trump said of himself in the third person, and Trump had personally, quote-unquote, personally gotten Zucker his job at CNN. Yes, I did, said Trump. I made a note here. Who made whom here?
Yeah, right.
Maybe Jeff Zucker made Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Iteration there.
Yeah.
By giving him The Apprentice.
Right.
Yeah. Finally, continuing on to the last page here. How much influence do you think Steve Bannon has over me? Trump demanded, and repeated the question, and then repeated the answer. Zero. And that went for his son-in-law too, who had a lot to learn. The media was not only hurting him, he said. He was not looking for any agreement or really even any response, but hurting his negotiating capabilities, which hurt the nation. And that went for Saturday Night Live too, which might think it was very funny, but was actually hurting everybody in the country. And while he understood that SNL was there to be mean to him, they were being very, very mean. It was fake comedy.
I love that. Fake comedy. My favorite type of comedy. The fake comedy.
Yeah. Fake news. Fake comedy. Fake president.
It's just a magical incantation you can just recite, and it makes all your problems go away. Just fake insert thing here.
Yeah. And finally they wrap up here. And what the media was doing was undermining this very dignified House. And dignity is so important, end quote. The call went on for 26 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So it sounds like... See, again, that's
Michael Wolff. It's got to be.
Yeah, this was a conversation I think that Michael Wolff had with Trump, and he was annoyed because it was probably like 11:30 at night. Donald Trump calls him up and bitches and moans about CNN and Saturday Night Live and all this stuff for 26 minutes.
All hopped up on Diet Coke and McDonald's.
But again, I mean, these kind of details, the call went on for 26 minutes. These are the kind of details that make it, like, unimpeachable that this guy is not lying about these things. It's like Donald Trump doesn't even want to try to, like, get his people out there to say that this didn't happen because, like, the call was 26 minutes. It's like, this guy's got the records. He will, if you try to contest that, it's going to be a rough day for you.
Yeah. I remember when the book came out, they just kind of issued a blanket, oh, none of this is true. Like, none of it, not a thing. Like, okay.
You mentioned the statement the president put out. It was very harsh, and it basically says the entire book is fiction. That said, a note explaining how the book came to be said that the authors conducted interviews for 18 months, including many with the president, spoke to over 200 people, many of the president's top aides and people.
He never actually sat down with the president, just to be very clear.
Two questions. Did they ever speak on
Since
the
the
phone?
president. There was one brief conversation that had nothing to do originally with the book. It was, I think, around 5 to 7 minutes in total since the president's taken office, and that's the only interaction that he's had. That's the only interaction that the president has had with Michael Wolff since he took office.
If you could reconcile the president's statement with the author's statement about how the book came to be.
I'm not sure what the author's statement is on how the book came to be. I know that the book has a lot of things so far of what we've seen that are completely untrue. You have many people that have quotes that are sourced to them that are now coming out publicly and saying that those things are not true. And so I can't speak to what the author's comments were. I can only speak for the White House. Darlene?
Does the White House have a copy of the book now?
I believe there may be some individuals that do.
It doesn't matter. The people who want to hear that will hear that, and everybody else will ignore it. I mean, like, Trump supporters will say, "Oh, okay. Oh, the fake book, the fake novel.
Yep.
The fake nonfiction.
Put it in the fiction section next to Harry Potter."
Yeah. Yeah. I always said burning books was bad, but now I think it's good. Make America great again.
I'm gonna listen to the Kanye album next.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Kanye. That was a thing. That was a thing we talked about last night, I believe, briefly, with regards to the Ta-Nehisi Coates article that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. To me, it's entirely transparent what happened there. Again, it might be better to re-encapsulate it more than we did last night, but. Kanye West is the person who said George W. Bush doesn't like black people. He hates black people,
doesn't care about black people.
Okay. Yeah. And
while Mike Myers looked on in horror.
Yeah.
With the breach of 3 levees protecting New Orleans, the landscape of the city has changed dramatically, tragically, and perhaps irreversibly. There's now over 25 feet of water where there was once city streets and thriving neighborhoods.
I hate the way they portray us in the media. If you see a black family, it says they're looting. You see a white family, it says they're looking for food. And you know it's been 5 days because most of the people are black. And even for me to complain about, I would be a hypocrite because I've tried to turn away from the TV because it's too hard to watch. I've even been shopping before even giving a donation. So now I'm calling my business manager right now to see what is the biggest amount I can give. And just to imagine if I was down there, and those are my people down there. So anybody out there that wants to do anything that we can help with the setup, the way America is set up to help the poor, the black people, the less well off as slow as possible. I mean, Red Cross is doing everything they can. We already realize a lot of the people that could help are at war right now, fighting another way, and they've given them permission to go down and shoot us.
And subtle, but in even many ways more profoundly devastating, is the lasting damage to the survivors' will to rebuild and remain in the area. The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
I mean, and good, at that time, good for Kanye West, right? But for him to say, I mean, my God, George W. Bush, I don't know. He had a Condoleezza Rice. He had a Colin Powell.
He sure did.
I mean, Donald Trump had an Omarosa, but I mean, let's keep it real. If you're going to say that George Bush didn't like black people, and you're going to try and stand up for Donald Trump in 2018, don't have Ta-Nehisi Coates come to me and say, "Oh, well, supporting Trump is actually kind of a counterintuitive, revolutionary reassertion of the fact that Kanye West is not black. He's Kanye, and he wants the same white privilege to support Trump that white people have."
But you remember where that quote was from, right? "I'm not black, I'm OJ."
Okay.
That's from the OJ documentary. That's a quote that one of OJ's friends says about that he related to him being like, "Oh, you're a black guy." He's like, "No, I'm not black, I'm OJ."
When I met him, I was quite taken with him. This was kind of a warm June night in 1969. Howard Cosell took OJ and me to Bachelor's 3, which was Joe Namath's bar. He was telling me a story about being at a teammate's wedding with his wife, sitting at a table of mostly, as he said, Negroes. And he overheard a white woman at the next table saying, "Look, there's OJ sitting with all those niggers." And I remember in my naivete saying to OJ, "Gee, wow, that must have been terrible for you." He said, "No, it was great. Don't you understand? She knew that I wasn't black. She saw me as OJ. And really, at that moment, I thought he was fucked.
In the last year, I read the what was it, Jeffrey Toobin or whoever wrote the
Run of His Life.
Run of His Life.
Sure.
Yeah, the O.J. Simpson trial and stuff. I've read that. I read that book, and I finished it up when I was back in America. There, it was really good. Very good book. And
I liked it a lot.
And he had an entire section about how O.J. Simpson. He as soon as he got out of the hood that he grew up in, he did not look back.
No, he didn't.
He did not lift up the community, and he loved hanging out with the cops. He had the cops over to his
house
all the
to
time
swim.
for parties.
Yeah.
He hung out with a bunch of white people in Malibu.
Right.
And
well, if anything, he got special
focus.
Treatment that other people didn't get because he was famous and a celebrity and somebody that palled around with the cops anyway. So they covered up for him for years. He ran from the police at one point when there was a domestic violence call against Nicole. So, and he got out of that scot-free. So, if anything, he was protected by the police, which is ironic given the, whole line of defense from Johnny Cochran later in the trial with the, conspiracy to frame him for this murder and plant the glove and Mark Furman and all that. So,
I agree. I think I don't know. I forget how this correlates with Kanye right now, but my point is that I don't buy. It kind of angered me, the article, because I read the whole thing. It was a long, plodding, slow to get to the point kind of think piece or something on the Atlantic by Ta-Nehisi Coates about how.
I don't think he was justifying what he was doing, though. I don't think he was saying it was right. I think he was like, Kanye views himself as beyond race.
He was equivocating a lot, though. He was really equivocating, I feel like.
Sure.
And I just feel like for somebody who has so much moral clarity on so many issues and will just come right out and say exactly what he thinks as far as like reparations or the place of white supremacy in American society in 2018, for him to be equivocating about Kanye West when Kanye is supporting Donald Trump,
Kanye has been an important figure for Black people, I think, and for culture in general, but he's probably
Kanye.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably one of the most famous Black people on the planet, I would say.
Well, Donald Trump is one of the most famous white people. What the hell does that have to do with their merit?
Right, but he was never I don't know. I feel like Kanye West has been at the apex
Kanye West was not Martin Luther King here. He was not Malcolm X.
No.
He was.
Well, I mean, he talked about how when he says that song "Crack Music," he talks about we did this and we did that. He's speaking more for the Black community in a way that white people aren't. But now he's trying to by embracing Trump, he's trying to shed that. He just wants to be past racial in some way, and I think he's just trying to understand what he's trying to do, not condoning it, but just maybe trying to understand.
Supremacists say the West invented democracy, the television, the computer, the printing press, etc., and so we're racially superior because of it. I'm not interested in claims about what a person's race has done per se. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't make Kanye. I don't know. I've liked some of Kanye's music too. I didn't really like Gold Digger. That was not my jam. I like The Good Life. I like that song a lot.
That's a good one.
That's a great song. I liked the one where he's talking about Chicago going home or something like that.
Yep.
But hold on one second. Hey, 안녕하세요. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm back. Nah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Kanye's totally gone off the rails, and I don't think we need to listen to him on anything anymore. But I'm just saying, there is a reason that Kanye West's having this opinion about Donald Trump matters more than just him as a person having this opinion. So,
I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't think special exceptions should be made for any particular Trump You know, people, he seems to think that like people who supported Trump are going to get a pass, but Kanye might be held responsible or something. Was it another tone that came across in the article? I'm like, no, don't worry. We're gonna hold the Trump supporters accountable on our end, but you guys hold Kanye accountable too, because like, I don't know, it's whatever.
Right.
You know, you could argue that maybe Kanye married into this crazy ass motherfucking
Kardashian.
Back to OJ again.
Yeah, we're going back to Kardashian. This is all relates back to OJ. It's all related. Kardashians, you know, Robert Kardashian.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like what's the father's name? Jenner.
Juice.
Jenner.
This letter was written by OJ today. To whom it may concern. First, everyone understand I had nothing to do with Nicole's murder. I loved her, always have, and always will. If we had a problem, it's because I loved her so much. Recently, we came to the understanding that for now, we were not right for each other, at least for now. Despite our love, we were different, and that's why we mutually agreed to go our separate ways. It was tough splitting for a second time, but we both knew it was for the best. Inside, I had no doubt that in the future we would be close friends or more. Unlike what has been written in the press, Nicole and I had a great relationship for most of our lives together. Like all long-term relationships, we had a few downs and ups. I took the heat New Year's 1989 because that's what I was supposed to do. I did not plead no contest for any other reason but to protect our privacy, and was advised it would end the press hype. I don't want to belabor knocking the press but I can't believe what is being said. Most of it is totally made up. I know you have a job to do, but as a last wish, please, please, please leave my children in peace. Their lives will be tough enough. I want to send my love and thanks to all my friends. I'm sorry I can't name every one of you, especially AC. Man, thanks for being in my life. The support and friendship I received from so many, Wayne Hughes, Louis Marks, Frank Olson, Mark Packer, Bender, Bobby Kardashian. I wish we had spent more time together in recent years. My golfing buddies, Ross, Alan Austin, Mike, Craig, Bender, Weiler, Sandy, Jay, Donnie, thanks for the fun. All my teammates over the years, Reggie, you were soul of my pro career. Ahmad, I never stopped being proud of you. Marcus, you got a great lady in Catherine. Don't mess it up. Bobby Chandler, thanks for always being there. Skip and Kathy, I love you guys. Without you, I never would have made it through this far. Marguerite, thanks for the early years. We had some fun. Paula, what can I say? You are special. I'm sorry we're not going to have our chance. God brought you to me. I now see, as I leave, you'll be in my thoughts. I think of my life and feel I've done most of the right things. So why do I end up like this? I can't go on. No matter what the outcome, people will look and point. I can't take that. I can't subject my children to that. This way they can move on and go on with their lives. Please, if I've done anything worthwhile in my life, let my kids live in peace from you, the press. I've had a good life. I'm proud of how I lived. My mama taught me to do unto others. I treated people the way I wanted to be treated. I've always tried to be up and helpful. So why is this happening? I'm sorry for the Goldman family. I know how much it hurts. Nicole and I had a good life together. All this press talk about a rocky relationship was no more than no more than what every long-term relationship experiences. All her friends will confirm that I have been totally loving and understanding of what she's been going through. At times, I have felt like a battered husband or boyfriend, but I loved her. Make that clear to everyone, and I would take whatever it took to make it work. Don't feel sorry for me. I've had a great life, great friends. Please think of the real OJ and not this lost person. Thanks for making my life special. I hope I helped yours. Peace and love, OJ.
Jenner, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner. Call me Caitlyn.
Caitlyn, yeah, whatever it is now. You know, one day he's a man, another day he's a woman. One day he's transsexual. The next day he's a Trump supporter. The next day, oh my God, I can't believe Trump has betrayed trans rights. He told me he wouldn't do this. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And here we are with Kanye too. Like, I don't know, these people, they got to be held to account. The Bush people were not held to account. And now we got a bunch of people, I don't know, I was watching the thing, Morning Joe. Mm-hmm. There's that woman on Morning Joe.
Mika?
She was like a Bush speechwriter.
I don't know.
I can't remember her name actually, but she's on there. She was a Bush speechwriter or something, or a communications expert or something like that. But she's on Morning Joe now. Mm-hmm. And they were interviewing, they're doing a roundtable discussion with somebody who had written like a very critical book about George W. Bush or something, or saying something very critical about him. And she's like, I was waiting for like 5 minutes. What's she going to say? Because she's sitting at the table and she's always a tireless Bush defender because she was there during those days and she had the inside story. And
Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace,
that sounds right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And, so a lot of people, even like, I don't know, David Frum or whoever, there's people on the Atlantic, byline too, who were in the Bush administration. And so, a lot of people got a pass. And I think it's important that we don't do that for the Trump people.
It's hard to see how it would. It's a stink that shouldn't wash off, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because, we know who Trump is at this point. We just, it's all the enablers and people around him that we are seeing the character of by not standing up to him when he needs to be checked in all these ways. So.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned last night, I think that the Kanye thing is very transparently that, he had beef with Jay-Z, and Jay-Z had Obama, and Obama called out Kanye for being a jackass. And, Jay-Z's getting invited, he and Beyonce getting invited to the White House and hanging out with Obama, and there's, Obama, wipes the dirt off his shoulder on TV and stuff, and, it's so awesome, and it's this hip-hop / White House melding that has never, ever occurred before, with the possible exception of, to some degree, Bill Clinton with certain kinds of black music, and Kanye wanted his piece of that, and he can't wait 4 to 8 years for the next president, who might be a more reasonable choice, and he figures, hey, I'm a narcissistic megalomaniac, and so is Donald Trump, and maybe that's enough, right?
Right.
So I don't think, like, again, Ta-Nehisi Coates' article just rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, it's very transparently, that's what it is, right? You don't have to, wring your hands about this for, like, 8,000 words or something.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
Did you read that article?
I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't see him as defending him as much as maybe you did in that. I just saw it more as like trying to make sense of why it was happening, and maybe not coming to the right conclusions necessarily, but making some insights along the way.
I've seen a lot of people on Facebook saying, like, oh, guys, if you're mad at Kanye for supporting Trump, then you just don't get it yet. Kanye's already played you. It's all a publicity grip. And, like, okay. Like, I don't buy this whole argument that there's some deeper level that Kanye is working at by supporting Trump, or that it's excusable, or that it's it's understandable, or let alone his comments on, what was it, TMZ, where he was like, slavery was a choice. After 400 years, that was a choice. I mean, come on, people, come on. If anything should piss Coates off, that should be it, I think, right? Like, I mean, like, come on, that should be the final nail of the coffin of.
I'm not sure if that came out before or after that piece.
Yeah.
Maybe it was after, I don't know. But, yeah.
But it should have been clear by that point that that's the road he's on.
Sure.
People who support Trump say stupid shit. It's like a prerequisite. You know it's coming, right? Like, Scaramucci lasted a week because he, got high on his own supply, I guess we could say.
Right.
He went off the rails in a very Trumpian fashion, and he set a lot of records with the speed of removal.
Mm-hmm. We now measure things in Scaramucci's.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody says they support Trump publicly, the countdown begins for the next stupid thing they're going to say or do.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want to end with a joke?
Okay, you got a joke?
No, I'm asking you for a joke. You said you've been keeping them.
Who's on first? Shit, I'm all out of jokes.
You're all out of jokes? Okay. Well, keep reading, people. We're on chapter 7, getting through it.
Yeah, and we might ought to advise people, Bob, too, if we're gonna try to watch up to episode 5 of The Wire.
Yeah, I can do that. I can watch through more episodes before we speak again. So.
Okay. It won't be too much of an imposition, I promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
But and there'll be ample things to talk about, I guarantee it. So. All right. Well, anyways, thanks again for listening to our listeners, and we will be with you again soon.
Yeah. Have a good night, Cha.
Yeah. Good night, bye.
Later. If you enjoy this podcast, there are several ways to support it. Join the Rob Burgess Show mailing list. Go to tinyletter.com/The Rob Burgess Show and type in your email address. Then respond to the automatic message. I have a Patreon account which can be found at patreon.com/Rob Burgess Show Patreon. I hope you'll consider supporting in any amount. Also, please make sure to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available, including iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Facebook, Twitter, Internet Archive, TuneIn, and RSS. The official website for the podcast is www.therobburgessshow.com. You can find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. And if you have something to say, record a voice memo on your smartphone and send it to therobburgessshow@gmail.com. Include voice memo in the subject line of the email. Until next time.